Alrighty, folks, it is 9:20 right now, and every week we visit with our good friend Rekha from the Des Moines Register. She's made her way into the studio. How are you, young lady?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing?
Good. So do you enjoy this weather change we're having right now?
You know, I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I shudder literally to think about what's ahead. I hate winter. I'm so much of a summer person.
For fall, but then
it's beautiful, but it also comes with a lot of raking. The last 2 evenings after I got home, I just raked and raked and raked. There's so many trees that are shedding around my house.
So do you have piles? Can we come jump in them? What's going on?
I don't have any piles because I'm so meticulous, Jackie.
She raked them on her neighbor's lawn.
Aha! You heard it here first.
Well, let's not talk about whose trees they are that are shedding in my lawn, but that's another story.
That's next week's column.
Exactly.
So what are we talking about today?
We are talking about a race, an electoral race that has not been covered that much in the media and not been talked about that much in the media, but it's actually a hot one. Ooh. It's the Polk County Sheriff's race. So this happens every 4 years, and you know the current Polk County Sheriff is Bill McCarthy, and he's been in that office for a long time. He was the chief of police in the Des Moines Police Department. Prior to that, he's had a number of fairly high-profile positions in law enforcement. He is being challenged by a sergeant within the sheriff's office by the name of Dan Charleston.
Okay.
Now, Dan Charleston ran 4 years ago, and it became quite a vitriolic race between the two of them, and Charleston ended up suing McCarthy for retaliating against him for running against him. So he claims in his lawsuit that he was moved around to different positions, that he got a demotion, that he was bad-mouthed to the media, all by the sheriff or on behalf of the sheriff because he was challenging him.
Wow.
The sheriff obviously denies that any of that is true. The case is still in the courts.
I was going to say, what happened with that?
It's still in the courts. I mean, the judge tossed out certain provisions, and there are others that he's still considering, I guess. But the issue that he's running on, that Charleston is running on this year, last year there were a variety of issues. Chief among them was deporting immigrants and the right to bear arms.
Okay.
This year, there's really not much of a right to bear arms issue since all the laws have been passed in Iowa that possibly could be to allow people to carry arms in, sometimes in the most public places. But the issue for Dan Charleston this year is those speed cameras, that take automatic pictures when you're driving on certain byways or roads, and then you get a notice of violations in the mail, and you never get to see the person who's arresting you, and so you have to then pay a fine, which begins at $65 for speeding and then goes up to $85 or more. So his contention is that they are just a money-making ploy on behalf of various cities, municipalities, and Polk County enforces that ordinance, which was passed by the Polk County Board of Supervisors, in unincorporated areas of Polk County. So the sheriff is responsible for those areas that are not Des Moines or Windsor Heights, which have their own, but are unincorporated. And
their own money machines.
Their own money machines, exactly. But then there are jurisdictions like, for example, Grimes, which has its own political infrastructure, but has contracted with the sheriff's office to provide those services. This is way more information than you need. The issue is that Dan Charleston, in his lawn signs and on his Facebook page and on his campaign website, is saying, is making a very prominent thing about no cameras, no speed cameras, and there's a big graphic of a speed camera with a circle around it and a slash through it. Exactly, you know how.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you're just going by the lawn signs and the signage in the rural areas, Charleston has McCarthy beat.
Is that right?
No question about it, at least in our area.
Interesting.
I mean, as a matter of fact, I can't think of any of his opponent's signs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
In Des Moines, I've seen both.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah. But here's the big issue around this campaign provision, is that according to lawyers for the county, as well as the director of the Polk County, the civilian director of the Polk County Sheriff's Office, Dan Charleston would actually have zero authority to do anything about these speed cameras were he to become sheriff, because this is something that was passed by an ordinance of the Polk County Board of Supervisors. So that in a way they're contending it's false advertising. He just can't do anything about it. And in fact, one person, the director of the Polk County Sheriff's Office, went so far as to say this could set a really bad precedent. This is very dangerous because you can't just selectively enforce, as the top law enforcement officer, those laws with which you agree or disagree. And he used the example of what if you're partial to a particular kind of drug, which is illegal. So you don't enforce against, dealing in that drug, but you do others. Or that you think that women must be subservient to their husbands, so you don't enforce laws against domestic violence. So this is a very interesting thing because this is his top contention. And I know there are lots of people who hate these speed cameras. Of course, I do too. You probably do too. The question is, are they unconstitutional? And there has been case law that has held, according to the attorney for the county, that they are constitutional and that you can't just get rid of them, and that a sheriff can't just go in. And what Dan Charleston says he would do is actually go in on day one, January 1st, after getting into the sheriff's office, and just ask the private companies to take them back, because these are all contracted out to private companies. Right. But McCarthy's contention about these things is that, yes, they are a source of revenue. Yes, they do raise money, but that money is needed. And it's not about not being able to balance its budget as an office, but it's about doing extra enhancements that make the quality of law enforcement better. For example, they bought a very sophisticated communication system, high-tech communication system, with all of the local police and fire agencies that they interact with the money that came from this. So, you can argue about the money part of it. I think that what you can't really argue about is the fact that this was passed by ordinance, and only the Polk County Board of Supervisors can change that ordinance.
So it can't just be discarded.
It can't just be discarded.
Okay.
So
why have we not heard anything about?
I don't know.
It's just kind of flying under the radar,
It
isn't
really
Yeah.
is flying under. And I think part of that is because the two of them are not interested in debating with each other. Last time there was a debate, I covered it back in 2012. This time, I think partly because of the lawsuit, they're just not speaking. Neither one wants to talk to the other because, it might feed into. Yeah, exactly. So it's just these lawn signs that we're seeing. But it should be very interesting to see what the outcome of this. Now, last time, Bill McCarthy won with 58% of the vote.
That was my next question. Okay.
Yeah, 58% of the vote. So we'll see what happens.
Well, we want to remind you, yes, we're talking a lot about our presidential race that's going on right now, but don't forget about the local elections going on as well. You need to do your research and your homework, and one way to do that is to pick up today's Des Moines Register.
Thank you very much.
So what page of the hymnal is this one on?
The hymnal today, it's page 17A.
There you go.
Got that, 17A. You going to be watching the debate tonight?
Yeah, we have to, because I'm just
Because you're going to be bantering about it on the air.
I'm just curious as to see what's going to happen. We talked yesterday a little bit during Party Scooper segment that we had on here. I suggested that the gloves were going to be taken off tonight, and then others said, well, the gloves already are off. And I don't think it's gotten as nasty as it's going to get.
Really? How much nastier can it get?
I think
physical?
I don't think physical, but I think it can get even nastier than it has been.
Do you think that
because this is the last
Trump is going to bring up Bill Clinton?
For somebody,
he's already done that.
Not necessarily Trump, but something to happen. So that's
some of the actually he's bringing someone in who's accusing her of killing a relative of his in Benghazi, or because of that whole thing. So it is going to get ugly. You're right, and it's going to be really compelling television.
I just like to know what I can expect on Saturday Night Live.
I know exactly. That's what everybody says. I know. That's the biggest.
And I see if I'm close into thinking what skit they're going to do.
Well,
very good.
Much suspense.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good
we'll
to
see you next week talking about leaves next week.
And where the leaves
and
came.
where they belong.
Whose leaves are they technically?
We'll be right back. This is CWI Live.